Today is Mother's Day, and this is actually the third time that I have spoken here on Mother's Day, which is kind of interesting because this lifetime I am not a mother, and it's been nearly 25 years since my own mother passed away. But as I was thinking about it, maybe that makes sense that I'm the one giving the talk because I'm not out at a Mother's Day brunch or, doing some kind of Mother's Day celebration. And last year, my mother-in-law turned 95, and her kids did a combined birthday, Mother's Day celebration. And it was kind of interesting because we went to her church where one of her daughters sings, and they gave out roses to all of the mothers. And I felt really conflicted because I didn't want to be ungrateful, but I also felt like I didn't have a right to take a flower because I'm not a mother, and so I didn't. And then I kind of wrestled with myself about, are they going to be offended because I didn't take a rose? But if I did take a rose and they find out I'm not a mother, well then, I'd be doing the wrong thing. And, that was just all in my head. And as Annette said, there are many ways, and Reverend Kay said it also, there are many ways that we can provide mothering and nurturing to other people. I've been a teacher my whole life. I'm a counselor, I'm a minister. In fact, one of my students, some years ago, we were at a weekend teachers meeting, so we were in kind of a dormitory setting, and fairly late at night, I heard this tentative knock on my door, and I opened the door, and she's there, and she said, "I don't really want to bother you." I said, "You're not bothering me." She was born in Iran. She moved to this country when she was 10, and she was asking my permission and blessing to date someone who was another one of my students, and she said in the Persian culture, girls ask their mothers for their blessing before they start dating someone, and I know you're not my mother, but you're my spiritual mother, and so I really want your blessing. And so she is now married to this man. They have 2 lovely children, and I just felt so, really touched my heart that she looked at me in that way, and that I was important enough to her in a spiritual nurturing kind of way that she wanted my blessing before she embarked on this relationship. Well, last year when I was going through this conflict in my head at my mother-in-law's church, I wish I had known the origins of Mother's Day. I just learned this. So Mother's Day in this country didn't start out as a celebration to honor mother's personal relationship with their children. It was founded by a woman named Anna Jarvis, whose mother, Ann Jarvis, was a social activist. She lived in Appalachia. And Ann Jarvis organized these groups of women to support each other in friendship and to educate them about health. So Anna Jarvis, the one who started Mother's Day, was one of 14 children, and only 4 of them survived to adulthood. Because in Appalachia, where the conditions were so poor and unhealthy, infant mortality was big. And so Ann Jarvis, that was part of her mission, was to help mothers support each other, to give them ways that they could be friends with each other instead of being isolated, and to teach them about ways to be more healthy, like boiling water before drinking it to kill any disease organisms. So when Anna, the daughter, was 12, she heard her mother at a Sunday school class give this prayer: "I hope and pray that someone, sometime, will found a memorial Mother's Day commemorating mothers for the matchless service they render to humanity in every field of life. Mothers are entitled to it." So initially, Mother's Day was Ann Jarvis's way of honoring her mother, and the idea that women provide service to the community and to humanity. And so it was established as a way to honor this humanitarian way of nurturing, not the personal mother-to-child relationship. So as I was thinking about this, it's kind of interesting, even though this is not that common in the Midwest. I have 5 friends who I've known for many decades. None of us are mothers this lifetime. one of them is in her 40s, one's in her 50s, several of us are in our 60s, one is in her 70s. And all of us, well, some of us are beyond childbearing age, but all of us could have children. It's not that we can't have children. It's just that our lives have taken different forms. And one has never been married, one is currently married, 3 are divorced, I'm a widow, so we have all different marital statuses. And I can say for me personally, it's not that I decided I'm not going to have children, I just kind of followed how life led me and the ways that I provided service to other people. I traveled for 25 years, living basically out of a car in a suitcase, which wasn't very conducive to having children. And all of us love children. One of them is now retired. She was a Montessori teacher for many years. One of them is a recreational therapist, and she works with pre-adolescent children who have special needs. One of them worked for many years as a nanny. All of us are teachers, we're all counselors, we're all ministers, we're all healers in some way. And so we all provide nurturing to people who are not our own biological children. And that ability to nurture, I think, is so important. I remember as a kid, unlike Annette, who always wanted to be a mom, I remember as a young kid, I grew up in a small nuclear family, 2 parents, 2 sisters, no grandparents. They all died before I was born, no cousins. My father was an only child. And I remember as a little kid thinking, this is too limited to only have, I don't even know if I knew the word nuclear family, but to just have parents and siblings is too limited. I want to live somewhere in a community where there are parents and adults who kind of take care of all of the kids, and kids who have relationships with other adults. And not so strangely, as visualization works, I spent 7 years of my life, this lifetime, in a community like that. And there's a young man, not so young now, he just turned 30, who was born in the community when I was there, and for the first 7 years of his life, I spent every day with him and taught him lots of things. And at one point when he was about 5, he told me that everything I know about lizards I learned from him. And that was absolutely true. The point of that is that there are many ways to provide nurturing, and to do it in a large way, not to at all put down the personal mother-child relationship, but to go beyond it as well. So this has been a little over 20 years ago. I spent 10 days in this amazing kind of magical place. It's in a rural area in southwest Missouri. I think it's Marionville, Missouri. It's called Queen of Heaven Solitude. Even the image of that, Queen of Heaven Solitude. So it's a place where a very small group of nuns live in the country. They live in not like a convent building. They each have their individual cabins, which are called solitudes. And they have maybe 5, 7 cabins that are available for people to come and do an individual retreat. Not guided, your own retreat. So I went there because one of my friends, one of the friends actually who's not a mother, who was raised Catholic, I was not raised Catholic. It was at a time that I needed to be mothered. My husband had died, my mother died 3 months after that. I was living with a group of people who were kind, but really not that nurturing to me. I mean, they were used to me always being the one to take care of everyone, to cook the meals, to take care of kids, to teach. And so it didn't really occur to them that I needed to be taken care of, and I don't even know if I knew that I needed to be taken care of, but I certainly didn't know how to communicate that. So I went to this place. I spent 10 days in silence and prayer and meditation and walking in nature, and the nuns provided all the meals, and they weren't extravagant meals. I mean, lunch was usually a sandwich, breakfast might have been toast or cereal, the dinner was hot, but to have other people who fed me 3 times a day. I hadn't had that happen since I was a kid. And that in itself was just so nurturing. Sometimes I almost felt like crying. Someone is feeding me. And they were feeding my spirit. There was nothing expected of me, nothing required of me. And this lovely, nurturing place was given to me. And I really experienced the essence of what Mother Mary means. Because I don't know if it's true of all Catholics, but certainly these nuns, they worshiped Mary and the divine presence in Mother Mary, and they just emanated it in how they were. Their own prayer, their own practice, their own selfless, unconditional nurturing. And I actually originally intended to be there for 14 days, but I left after 10 because I was just so full of joy, of this feeling of being loved, that I wanted to share it with someone, and I couldn't, because here I was in the solitude, you know, no internet, no cell phone, no mail. So I emerged into the world to be able to share that. So I want to say on Mother's Day that I think it's really helpful to look at and be grateful for all the ways that we experience nurturing. I think all of us recognize that nature is very nurturing. I know when I want to be uplifted, if I go outside and go for a walk in nature, I just feel so supported and comforted. And it's not a mystery to me that we call her Mother Earth, because it's not only nurturing, but life-giving. And one thing that I found really interesting when I was researching the origin of Mother's Day is this Anna Jarvis. After establishing Mother's Day, Woodrow Wilson was the president at the time. He made it a national holiday. And then she spent much of her life trying to cancel Mother's Day because she was mad at how commercialized it got. The fact that it was used for buying cards and flowers. And I thought about that, and it's like, so what if it got commercialized? I mean, if somebody wants to honor their mother by buying her a $100 bouquet, I think that's great. You don't have to do that. You can go out and pick wildflowers and give a bouquet that comes from Mother Earth. If you want to spend $50 or $100 on a big Mother's Day brunch, go for it. But you don't have to. You can make a picnic and go outside in nature. You can cook a meal. I was watching the news, and one of the news anchors said, you know what I really want for Mother's Day? I want my kids and my husband to get out of the house, just leave me to be by myself. If they want to cook me dinner when they come back, that's fine, as long as they do the dishes. Right? So I think that there are many ways that we can offer gratitude to the people in our lives who have nurtured us. And in most cases, the way that we do that is by offering something that is in itself a symbol of life, like flowers. I used to sort of pine away because I didn't have someone to buy me flowers, and I thought, Laurel, that's ridiculous. Buy yourself flowers. And so I do, very often. Trader Joe's has great flowers for a really good price. And I buy plants. I'm going to do that later this afternoon to get the flowering plants that I can put on my patio. And food is another way that we can nurture people. I'm told many of you that I work at a spice store, and one of the things I love about it is that when people come in to buy spices, they oftentimes talk about what they're going to use these spices for. And when people talk about food, they're not just talking about food, they're talking about their relationships. Like, do you have this spice? I want to make my grandmother's recipe. Do you have this spice? I saw a celebrity chef and they're making this dish. I mean, we always know when the celebrity chefs are making some dish because we have 5 people on one day who come and ask for some spice we've never heard them ask for before. And to me, I find cooking a very nurturing experience. So I like to cook for myself. I like to cook for other people. The providing the food is a very it's not just nurturing to the body, it's nurturing to the soul. So I would encourage you on this Mother's Day to consider one thing. We talk here often about being a spiritual being, having a human experience. But we don't really talk so much about the fact that to have a human experience, you need to have a physical body. And all of us have a physical body that somebody provided for us. And that somebody may or may not have been the mother who raised us, but the mother who devoted 9 months or so of her life and her life energy and her nourishment and her body so that we could have this body, so that our spirit can move through the world. That is kind of a miracle. And Annette talked about her experience of being a mother. I know I never really thought about what the experience was like of my mother being a mother. You know, her experience of pregnancy. I was little when my younger sister was born, and so I don't remember her being pregnant. But the fact that there is a human being with their own physical human body who allows their body to be used so that we can have a body, that's a pretty remarkable, miraculous kind of experience.